Hey everyone, let's wrap up February. February wasn't a good month for me. I didn't upload many videos apart from reviews. I only uploaded my letter to the month, and that wasn't a happy one. I was really stressed and not happy, and that affected my reading. So it looks like I read a lot of books, but I actually read 2 books twice and short ones. So let's jump into the books. Starting with physical books, I finished Reticence, the 4th book in the Custard Protocol series. I uploaded a whole series review because in the 4th book it's hard to talk about only the book without spoiling the rest of the series. This is part of the Parasol Protectorate universe that Gail Carriger created, and I really enjoyed this book. It's focusing on Percy and on his point of view, and it's lovable. Despite me not enjoying him as a character in the 1st book, by the 4th I really got to like him. So I can only recommend this series, but be aware, if you haven't read the Parasol Protectorate series, the Custard Protocol will spoil a lot of that series. Another book I also reviewed is The Ticking Heart. I actually read this one twice because I enjoyed the writing so much, and also I thought I did get everything the first time. Concentration issues, seriously. The Ticking Heart is a fable about falling in love and out of love and dealing with relationships. We follow Charlie Waterfield through Metaphoria, where he finds himself after he kind of felt himself lost in his own life. Metaphoria is this place where you have to deal with your problems, and you can only leave it when you have an epiphany, preferably to the answer, what's the purpose of the human heart? And I really enjoyed this book. I really like the writing. I like how Andrew Kaufman puts ordinary people into strange and bizarre situations and has them look at life from a different perspective. And it's full of little wisdom that we actually know, but we tend to ignore. Highly recommended. Another review I uploaded is for Outer Order Inner Calm by Gretchen Rubin. This is a decluttering book which focuses on creating happiness and inner order through outer calm. And I really enjoyed this book because it really helped me get rid of some things that I've been clinging to and having trouble letting go. Not that you have to do that, but I really enjoyed it. And I also like how usable this book is and easily accessible. And I think I'm going to pick it up more and more in the future when I need another motivational kick to get rid of things or look at some outer order tips. And those were all the reviews I uploaded. I also finished more books. I finished 2001 Space Odyssey by Arthur C. Clarke. And I also watched the movie after reading it. And I find it very interesting that a lot of people talk of the movie as an adaptation to the book, when actually both were created together and parallel. Stanley Kubrick and Arthur C. Clarke worked together on the story for the book and for the film. And of course, if you have seen the film and read the book, you know that they go in different directions. The book has a lot of more opportunities to go into detail, especially in the beginning where we see where man becomes man. So in the beginning, man is not really man, but it's hundreds and hundreds and thousands of years ago when we were still apes, and the evolution there. And in this book, or in the story in total, there is an extraterrestrial influence that helps us get to where we are. Then we jump way into the future where space travel is happening, and the story continues on the moon first, and then in a spaceship on its way to Jupiter, or in the book's case, to Saturn. And I highly enjoyed both for different reasons. I really enjoyed the writing in this book, how it gave you a feeling of all the things that are happening in the background. You got the details, you got a feeling for the characters, a feeling for what is going on. In the movie, you got more a feeling of the scenery, and it's epic. It's very slow and a lot of times just music. And I was wondering if I had enjoyed the movie as much as I did if I hadn't read the book before, because it's hard to understand what's going on if you don't have the background knowledge. So I recommend reading the book first, then watching the movie, and then you have a wonderful experience of the story. Those were all the physical books I read. I DNF'd an ebook, which is the Pathfinder's Way. I started it, I think, 80 pages in, and then I got kind of annoyed by the character. I didn't really like the writing, and I found myself reading Goodreads reviews, and what everybody liked about the book, I didn't see and didn't like. And yeah, the spoiler reviews were, no, I didn't want to continue reading that. Usually if I start reading reviews and spoiler reviews, I just want to know what happened and to see if I'd be interested in it. And the way the story would have gone, I would have lost interest totally. Let's move on to audiobooks. I listened to The Martian again. I didn't really get the new Will Wheaton narrated one, but stuck to the one that I owned and listened to before, and I highly enjoyed it again. I really liked being with Mark Watley on the planet again and finding ways to survive, and his dry humor, and how you really clung to the edge of your seat sometimes, hoping that he would finish and achieve what he was struggling with. I also watched the movie The Martian afterwards again, and I really think it is a good adaptation. But just like the first time, I was a little bit annoyed by the changes they made, especially towards the ending, how they get Mark from the planet. And I thought that was not necessary. I also noticed that in the book, I was more on the edge and, yeah, suspenseful and really not sure what's going to happen. Whereas watching the movie had me close to tears a lot of times. It was more emotional. I also listened to a short middle grade, I would say, Beezer, which is basically the son of Satan going to Earth and being banned and making friends and turning into a normal human. It is a fun little story of finding your way, letting go of abusive parents, and finding friends and new family and being yourself. I really enjoyed it for what it was. The next audiobook I also listened to twice this month. It was Faust 1. It's the story of an old man being tired of his life and his achievements, so he makes a deal with the devil to basically be happy again, and falls in love with a very young woman. And of course ruins her. So yeah, it's a German classic. I've never read it in school, and I was surprised how much I enjoyed the writing. Listening to it was a very good choice for me because it's a play and I had a very good audiobook narrator. I of course listened to it in German, and I never got into reading it. But I also noticed that listening to it, it was easier accessible to me with how all the word flow and all of that, because it's a classic, it's old. And also it was easier to continue, if that makes sense. Sometimes when you read an old classic that feels like you can't access it through the language, that it's easier to listen to, I noticed, because that way you don't struggle with the words and you don't struggle with sentence structure and the flow and the rhythm of the text, but you can just enjoy and consume it. And I also noticed that I think I would have hated it in school. I wouldn't have gotten half the jokes and half the fun and critique that was in there. But I also noticed that reading it alone now made me miss out on discussion opportunities that I didn't have. That's why I read up on the book and then listened to it again. That was fun. The last audiobook I listened to was the narrator by. I basically watched The Mandalorian and really enjoyed the voice of the Mandalorian. So I thought maybe he narrated an audiobook, and he did a few. And it was either kids' adventure or horror story. But the horror story had weird reviews, so I was confused what to make of that. And after listening to the book, Ghost Radio, I understood why the rating is so varied. It really depends on what you expect from the book. As a horror story, I don't think it was a good horror story. I'm totally not an expert on horror, but I thought it was very slow, which was what people probably didn't like. And it was very character oriented. Nothing horrific really happened. It's following this radio DJ who had some strange things happening in the past, lost a friend, lost his parents. And through all of that, he somehow created a weird way of looking at things and a radio show that's called Ghost Radio, where people call and tell ghost stories. So you have ghost stories, but you also have the story of the narrator and his girlfriend and the show, and the story is jumping a little bit back and forth in time, which can be confusing and also not be enjoyable if you just want a straightforward horror story. It is very interestingly and well done in some parts. In other parts, I was wondering why we need that flashback. I didn't see any reason for some parts of the book, and some things I felt didn't go anywhere. It's not a complete good story. It is an interesting story. Towards the ending, everything gets more and more confusing because there is loss of reality and paranormal instances happening, and I didn't really feel any suspense. I didn't really feel scared at all. So I guess if you expect this horror story, this is not delivering. But if you expect an interesting story about character development and a character losing his mind and a very surprising ending, I didn't see that coming, then this is a good book. And the narrator did a wonderful job. I don't regret the narrator by. Looking at my list, I forgot a short story I read. Meet Cute by Gail Carriger is a prequel to the Parasol Protectorate series. It's the Hedgehog story. Basically the story how Alexia Tarabotia and Lord Connell Mackin meet for the first time. It's referenced to in the first book, which I always liked, that they didn't get to know each other, but they already met. And so the introduction was different. So when they come together in the first book, they're already acquainted, but not friends or anything else. They have met before. And this is the story how they've met. It's rather short. It's fun. I can recommend it if you have read everything else, or if you... I don't know if it makes sense if you haven't read anything by her. I'm biased, you know that. Okay, that were all the things I started, finished, listened to, read, and whatever in February. Let's talk in comments what you have read, how your February was, and let's hope that March will be sunny and happy and we will all be in a good reading mood and can concentrate and don't have to reread every sentence twice. That's probably just me. Anyways, thanks for watching. Bye bye.